Over the last few years, I've gotten really good at identifying what's going wrong with a succulent. Now, there's one big caveat to this. It's much easier to know what's going wrong with a succulent if you have a few details about how it's been cared for and where it's growing. So I want to show you an analysis of a couple of my succulents that are struggling so you can get an idea of what I'm looking at, what I'm paying attention to, so you can do the same thing with your own succulents so that the next time a succulent dies, you can analyze it and figure out why it died and hopefully avoid those things next time around. The first group of succulents I want to look at with you is this arrangement. You can see it's pretty sad looking, although we do have this really cool stem in the middle that's got a bunch of babies on it, and I'm super excited to keep that growing. So I actually wanted to pull it up for you though in the Succulent Tracker app and show you what it looked like previously. So here's a pretty current version of it. Here's where it was almost after I planted it, and this was when I first got it, or when I first put it together. So you can see there's a big difference between the two. So what happened between this and this and this? Part of it is that it has had really inconsistent watering. So essentially what's left here are the things that are really sturdy. But another thing that I noticed that happened is some of the succulents kind of got choked out. So the roots of them, some of these that were here, the arrangement was so full that water was getting distributed really unevenly, and it caused some of the succulents to dry out more than others, or some to not get the water that they need. And then just to give you an idea, here's just a little overview of how it's watered. So you can see I've been fairly consistent the last few days, but then it's like once a month maybe before that, sometimes twice a month. And then I've moved it a few times too. So it was on the floor. It was actually not getting quite as much light. And then, yeah, it's just been watered very inconsistently. At the beginning, I was watering some of it pretty regularly. And so I do think there were a couple succulents that were rotted out because I was trying to revive others. So there were some that were thin and drying out. And so I tried to water a little bit more, and then some of them rotted. So arrangements for me are kind of a tricky one. I don't love having succulents and arrangements because even if they have similar water needs, a lot of times just the individual plants being a different size or having a different root structure can be difficult to keep them all alive at the same time. So this one is going to be interesting because these babies are going to need a lot more water than this sedum. And then this one can tolerate that much water. You can see all of this yellowing on it is from getting too much light and not enough water. You can see there's some little crispy leaves under there. But it's interesting because this also has some spaced out leaves from times when it wasn't getting enough light. So there's a lot going on with that one.